I just wanted to say before we bring Dylan in, it's really clear that the system is not serving anyone. And there really is a real need for change now, and it feels like it's the right time. We're going to bring now Dylan because we wanted to have the opportunity also to hear from a lived experience from young people. Thank you so much, Mick, and thank you so much, Michael. Dylan, you're there. I can't really see you just yet. Can you hear us well?
Can you see me?
Oh, brilliant. Okay.
How
Nice to see you, Dylan.
how do I unblur this? Give me a second. Can you see me now?
Yes, yeah, we can see you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with you. There's a lot of failure, but that's beside the point.
That's okay. So, Dylan, it's really lovely to have you here. I think, let me see, is maybe the lighting a little bit, well, we can see you, so that's all right. We can go ahead. So, just as Dylan gets the lighting maybe a little bit ready, I was just going to add something that, I mean, there's a lot of us in here from the mental health sector and colleagues that I think we're living with a lot of thought and ideas on how we can join forces. I wanted just to add that here in Hackney in September 2023, we wrote a motion that called for mental health to be recognized as our human right, and it was passed. So Hackney was the first council to adopt this motion, and we do see mental health as our human right. So that has been sort of at the background as well of what has allowed us to campaign on where we don't want to see happening in terms of damage of the mental health for young people. Dylan, you're here now. So lovely to have you, Dylan. And
thank you very much.
Thank you so much for the time. I mean, we have about 10, 15 minutes. It will be really good to hear from you. You've had experiences of what's been happening with the school exclusions. I find that, I mean, I have a lot of respect and admiration for your courage and how you speak, you know, to power and truth. So the floor is yours. You know, what do you want us to hear, and what do you think maybe is a message for all of us in here who are eager to support? Thank you, Dylan.
No, thank you very much. It probably won't take 10 minutes, but I'll try my best. Yeah, my name's Dylan. I'm 18, studying business. But I would like to say, yeah, I've used many of the services that you've worked in, things like CAMS. I've seen things like Ofsted come to my school. I've seen my sister with she has SEND, so I've seen her use certain services. I think they're all failures, personally. I think CAMS is a failure. I was on CAMS waiting list. The main thing that most of my friends and me, and we all did, we avoided it because there was like a stigma that it'll be on your record forever and you'll be seen as mentally ill. So by all costs, we avoided it. I was put onto CAMS. They took like 10 months anyway to put me onto the first waiting list. And by the time I got to it, I was like, no, because it's 10 months, that issue's gone now. Ofsted, all they did is anyone who had behavioral issues, they sent them out to school on a school trip, unofficially. And then Ofsted come in, they ask the questions. The teachers used to, I remember the teachers used to tell us that they used to give us pre-planned answers, what to tell Ofsted when they came around. And I remember when they took me in, I gave them like a list of BS, complete nonsense. Like the stuff I was telling them, I was like 16, 15, it was complete bullshit. But it looked good for the school, right? We got outstanding, so that's good. The academy scrutiny, last time I checked, I hadn't heard any of the councils represent the academy that I was in, especially when they were saying things like black hairstyles weren't allowed. Like, for example, I had to have a one all over, right? We weren't allowed braids, afros, none of that. And last time I checked, the council didn't say anything. The mayor didn't say anything. I didn't see any of these random services saying anything. But what can you say about that? School counsellors, completely useless. There's like one for 1,000 people. So I don't know how that was going to work, but sure, I guess. And obviously SEND support team with my sister, completely pointless. Juliet spoke about a person whose young sister was excluded from school, or like was threatened to exclude from school. That's my exact situation, right? Mum had issues, full-time parent, single parent. And my sister was given an ultimatum, right? Where she was obviously forced to unenroll, or force my mum to unenroll. And if she did not do so, she'll be excluded from school. I'm pretty sure that's kind of unlawful. Threatening to exclude an 8-year-old for having SEND is a bit weird, but you know, that's what they're doing now. It was also in progress while they were getting an educational healthcare plan. The council took like 10 months to put the educational healthcare plan in. So the school saw that, were like, okay, bye-bye. Try to exclude her because they know that after the educational healthcare plan, that would not work. So during the process of getting it, they took it upon themselves to agitate my sister, write a report of stuff that she's been doing, and make it seem like she's the problem the whole time. And then obviously, because they don't want to have exclusions in primary school, they force their parents to unenroll the kids. And obviously, most single parents, they just oblige, because which single parent's going to stand up against the school, right? Most majority don't, especially with a full-time job. They did another weird tactic, right? They used to call her during working hours. Now she works for Mosbourne, the primary school, right? But the thing is with Mosbourne is if you miss one of the days, you don't get paid, right? Or you lose money. Obviously, for a single parent with multiple kids, including my younger siblings, yeah, you don't want to lose money, right? So they used to call her continuously, several times a day, to come pick her up, making certain demands, and obviously, it's a threat of losing money. It's a threat of her not wanting the exclusion of the profile, and that made it very easy for them to pressure mum to move out of school. But I think that was unlawful, personally, as I said already. I mean, there was a situation in my school in year 10, so this was like 2021. They used to shoot fireworks. So people from outside school used to come in and shoot fireworks into the school playground. And obviously, the teachers do anything. I didn't see the police ever. But what happened is anyone who refused to go back outside, because there's this one girl who got PTSD because it hit her, and she got really, really scared, right? I was like 15, so I couldn't do anything. She refused to go outside. I remember the behavior team rushed around her, right? It's like girls like 5 foot. There's 6 foot behavior team members, like a goon squad. They rushed her and screamed at her to go back outside. And I'm like, even then, I was like, wait, what's going on here? She's got hit by a firework, which is legally classified as a firearm, by the way, by law. She's been hit by that, basically by a legal firearm. And now she's being threatened to go back outside, or she's being taken to ref. Another thing, ref is a thing that most schools have. I went to City Academy. Ref is a City Academy. We have isolation in Mosbourne, where my brother goes. It's a place they take you, and you have to stay there all day. You're not allowed outside. You get smaller portions of food. Access to water is restricted. You can only go to the toilet once every few hours, monitored, etc., etc., etc. Anyway, the point was, the thing is, I've only realized recently with ref is a lot of people failed ref, but I'm pretty sure it was designed deliberately by the way it was set up to fail it. Because here's the thing: when you failed ref, you get an external exclusion, right? And you can probably see where I'm going with this. The second you get external exclusion, they put it on your profile, right? So it starts with for 3 days, and it's 3 working days, so it's not over weekends. It's 3 days, 3 working days. So you get excluded permanently outside for 3 working days. Then it's 5 working days if you fail that. So if you try to come back to school, you get 5 days straight away. Yeah, simple. They just upgrade it. 5 days, and then you get a 16-day. Now I knew some people who got 16 days and they never came back to school ever. Right, never again. And obviously their grades were quite bad. And obviously after being antagonized with behavior issues, you could probably imagine that, they're just gone. Mm. So you can probably understand when I have the belief that I don't think you should negotiate with these schools. I think these schools should be publicly persecuted, personally. Right? I don't think if my child was being abused, I would absolutely not reason with these people whatsoever. I think they should be publicly pressured, and there should be a change of counsel, and they should be forced into submission, quite simply. There's absolutely no way I'm going to reason with someone for the past 7 years of my life who has forced me into areas like I've been in ref myself. Obviously, I didn't fail it because I saw through that, but who's forced me into areas of isolation for 7 hours a day. I mean, no, I'm not going to reason with that person. And I don't think any of you should either, right? Quite frankly. But I think that's the main of what I was trying to say. And yeah, I mean, there's just a few of my examples, right? I have loads of others I could probably think about.
There is a lot, Dylan. Yeah, there is a lot. Dylan, just to begin with, I feel quite angry just to hear what you say or what you experience as a young person. I actually had completely forgotten about the whole issue of ref and the whole almost I find, I think it's unlawful. Those sort of tricks that you just mentioned about, how they jump from when you send to ref, it's not really a reflection, as someone was just saying in the chat. I also believe you when you say that it's almost intended to antagonize young people. We have heard of stories. I have been in places where I represent the young people in their when they appeal for not being excluded, and we have heard how teachers, specifically for behavior teachers, they have been either hidden or kind of away from your eyesight, but then actually just checking that you're making the wrong move to then say that you have definitely failed that ref. Dylan, there is something you said about your sister, which sounds so powerful and horrendous. And as some people already say in the chat, it's not a unique experience, unfortunately. How now that you've kind of gone through this, how do you see this when you look back? And I know that you're taking leadership on this in Hackney. I'm so proud that you are. And I can see, and I hope one day you become one of our elected members talking on this issue, bringing this to the table where we make decisions. What would you say now is the change that needs to happen, especially with these managed moves that are so invisible? And that's why schools say, oh, we don't have any exclusions in primary schools, but actually it's managed moves that are hidden exclusions. What would you say to that?
You need to have complete control of academies and schools. I mean, the council used to have control of academies, but they sold them all off. And then the councils also then complain that they have no control. I mean, if you sell a school off to someone, you're not going to have control of it. So that's their fault. But the point is, you need to have full control of academies and schools, point blank period. Any BS, you need to be disciplined, right? I think that's a pretty straightforward rule. If you find someone verbally abusing the kids like they do into Mosbourne, they need to be disciplined. You need to show an example. And secondly, I don't think there should be school exclusions, point blank period, right? If you have someone in your borough who is your responsibility, you should not be excluding that child, or you should be changing the people in the borough, point blank period, right? There are thousands of reasons why the people around me or myself may act in a certain way. It may be the food that they intake, it may be their financial situation, it may be their emotional security, it may be their physical security. I tell you what, right, bro, there used to be times I got out of school and people used to put knives up to me and my friends. And you think I'm going to go into school the next day and be happy and jolly, right? We're working class people, right? I understand the race issue as well. There is no difference between me, a Muslim, a white person. We get along because it's a class issue, right? It's not between Muslims and white people and black people and Asian people like they portray in the media. It's between classes, and it's a deliberate act of violence, I think so, and antagonization, right? And obviously a lot of teachers don't understand that, because a lot of the people who come into schools are from middle class backgrounds. I get that, right? But there's a disconnect, a major disconnect, because the fact is, we will normalize being pointed out with a knife, right? We will normalize our parents beating us. We'll make jokes out of it, right? It's funny, right? We'll normalize people getting excluded. We will normalize going hungry for like over 2 days, right? We'll normalize not being able to afford school uniform because they're too small over 2 years, right? Because the Trutex is the place to get school uniform in Hackney, by the way. If you can't afford it, which a lot of parents can't, right? By year 10, your school uniform's too small. We'll normalize that. We'll take the piss out of it, right? But the fact is, I've got the original point I was going to rant, sorry. But no, the point I'm trying to say, the point I was trying to say, right, is all of these issues are factors into why someone might behave a certain way in school. On top of the issues like ADHD, like what my sister has, or SEND, or ODD, right? Like even the parents, right? A lot of these parents are mentally ill. A lot of these parents are doing certain drugs that they should not be doing. I've seen it, right? But there's absolutely no way they're going to perform the way that a middle-class person who has no financial issues would. Do you know what I'm saying? So I think that the council, which I have not seen them do, needs to publicly list every single one of those issues I've said times 10. I am one person who's 18 years old. There are people who've been in this industry for 18 years, right? They're more than capable to list all of these issues. They're more than capable to release reports on all the abuse that's been taken to kids, right? And I think personally, it should be listed. It should be transparent. People are not stupid, right? Majority of the people in London are reasonable people, right? And I think they want to hear the truth. And obviously, if I was in control, that's what I'd give them. I'd give them the truth. I would admit the mistakes have been made. But that's what they need to hear first. They need to know what's going on, right? And once people can communicate openly what's going on without being scrutinized or ridiculed or acting like they're isolated, because in fact, most parents are not isolated, right? They're made to feel like they're isolated, but there are hundreds in these numbers, right? Do you know what I'm saying? Once they come together, it's a lot harder to disband these kind of people. And I think that's a powerful image. And it shouldn't be a thing where the council is threatened by that. It should be a thing where they're working with the people. Do you know what I'm saying? So I think honesty and transparency and apologies, genuine apologies for everything that's happened so far is a key way to move forward, quite honestly. And on top of having full control of academies and schools. You get that full control of academies by publicly scrutinizing them, by the way. They're very bad when it comes to pressure. They don't like outside pressure. They don't like being scrutinized by the council. The council doesn't do it, and Hackney-wise. But I guarantee once they start doing it, a lot of things are going to start changing. But that's just my personal belief.
Thank you so much, Dylan. We're coming, I think, quite close to an end soon. What you've shared is is creating a lot of messages in the chat because people really are really grateful that you are sharing what you're sharing with us. Dylan, there is when you say that the social economic issues affect behavior in young people that when they go to school, I just want to say that I think that is what is massively overlooked. And I've seen that as myself as a youth worker before, but also myself coming from extreme poverty. I remember how there was a lot of issues at home, and then led to my parents being, the way they were at home, and then I would take that to school. But when I went to school, I had my sanctuary, and the behavior that I had, and the anger that I felt, and stuff that I didn't have a safe space to release. I would perhaps showing it somewhere, and by school was able to support me instead of punish me, which is what I think which is the issue now, the moment that we have in the UK. We're gonna start wrapping up just because we're gonna come close to 1 p.m. What would be the last message or your message? And I know that this is the beginning for you because you're taking this issue everywhere. And I've seen you attending scrutiny commissions. You are holding your local authorities to account. And I know that you also gathering support from young people, that your people, your groups. What do you think needs to change, and what would you like to see happening next?
Well, in an ideal world, what I'd like to be seen happening is everything I've said so far be actually implemented. However, what you'll find is when you interact with these people, they're quite condescending. Now, I don't want to be continuously negative, but the one thing I would say, as of right now, in the environment they live in right now, I say have hope. Right? There are people like me, and I don't want to blow my own whistle. I'm saying that I have lived an experience where meager threats by people above me does not threaten me. I do not feel diminished. I will argue with 100 people without feeling demoralized even for 3 seconds. Right? I represent my people and I represent them full. Right? As I said already, with Hackney, the council serves the mayor and the mayor serves the people. And I'll tell you, for 5 seconds, if I become mayor, it's going to be a different situation. But I would ask everyone to have hope. Seriously, genuine hope. Right? There's a light at the end of the tunnel, and it can't stay negative forever. These people are obviously, there's a mental thing that goes on in their minds where they feel comfortable with the verbal and physical abuse of their own people. And some of us are not like that, right? But you can't stay bad forever, right? So I think that's why I'll leave it. Just have hope. Have hope.
I think we're gonna open mics because I think people are really keen to give a round of applause for what you said, and there's so many people putting in the chat. Dylan, you have my respect, my admiration. I really, really look forward to you continuing to bring the voice that you're doing and to the council and national level too. I can see you going the way, and you have my full support, Dylan. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts to sharing your experience today with us. It informs what we want to do, and massive applause to Dylan.
Thank you very much.
I have to say, just before we wrap up, and I think it's important to acknowledge how heavy this has been and the emotions that we experiencing from what we just heard from Dylan. This is a young person that's telling us of his experience of pain. I feel myself quite emotional. I have tears that I know I want to share. So I'm really pleased that we can come together and hopefully never see this again in our system. We want to end this. I'll pass it over to you. Thanks, John.
Thank you, Claudia. Yeah. I think we're all so moved, Dylan. Thank you so much for coming and bringing your experience exactly as it has been and that it is.